A long time ago in a faraway land, there was a Mafia Don who ruled his territory with an iron fist. He had built his empire on blood, sweat, and tears, and he wasn't about to let it go without a fight. You see, the Don had been betrayed by one of his own, his right-hand man, who had turned coat and now wanted the Don's power for himself. The Don's family had been taken out one by one, and now it was time for the final showdown. The Don and his remaining men had taken refuge in a mansion at the end of a long driveway lined with trees. A car pulled up outside the warehouse, and a group of armed men jumped out. It was the Don's reinforcements, led by a mysterious figure who introduced himself as the Don's savior. His enemies would never be able to take it by force, but the Don knew that they would try anyway. The fighting was fierce, but the Don's defenses were strong, and they were able to hold off the attack. He planted false rumors that he had hidden a fortune in gold bars on his property, and then he sat back and watched as his enemies descended on his property in search of the treasure. They tore up the place, but they didn't find any gold. The Mafia Don had power over many people, but he used that power for evil instead of good. Let us be the truth in a world of lies. Let us be the way in a world that is lost and broken. Let us be the soldiers of the cloth who fight for what is right, who stand up for the oppressed, and who bring light into the darkness. He makes powerful enemies both inside and outside the Mafia, and he has to fight to protect his family and his empire. Let us follow in the footsteps of Jesus Christ and be the difference in this world. Thank you, and God bless you. It's got all the elements that make Mafia stories so compelling: the power struggles, the betrayals, the violence, and of course, the family. This book is not for the faint of heart, though. It's gritty and realistic, and it doesn't shy away from showing the brutality of the Mafia world. But if you can handle it, it's definitely worth the read. He was greedy and selfish, and ultimately that led to his downfall. Let us not be like the Mafia Don, specifically for those who love Mafia stories. And let me tell you, if you're one of those people, this book is going to blow your mind. It's a page-turner from start to finish, and it's a story that you won't be able to put down. Instead, let us be like the soldiers of the cloth who stood up for what was right, even though it was hard and dangerous. You really feel like you're in the Mafia world, and you can't help but be drawn into the story. Michael is reluctant to get involved in the family business at first, but he eventually takes charge when he sees that his family is being threatened by rival Mafia families. Let us have the courage to speak out against injustice, and the strength to stand up for those who are oppressed. For in doing so, we will be following in the footsteps of Jesus Christ himself, who said, "I am the way, the truth, and the light." All they found was a trap that the Don had set for them. But the Don knew that this was only a matter of time. It's a classic for a reason, and it's a story that you won't be able to put down. And when his enemies tried to leave, the house exploded, killing or injuring every single one of them. The Don had won the war, but he was a changed man. He realized that the violence and bloodshed had taken its toll on him, and he was ready to retire. He needed to find a way to defeat his enemies once and for all. And so he and his old friends waited, preparing for the inevitable attack. With their help, the Don and his last remaining man escaped. It was surrounded on all sides by his enemies, but the Don wasn't worried. He had a plan. As the sun began to set, the Don's enemies closed in on the mansion, guns raised. They were ready to end the Mafia Don's reign of terror once and for all. He lived out his days peacefully, knowing that he had finally won the war. But what they didn't know was that the Don had already made his move. He had slipped out of the mansion unnoticed and was hiding in the bushes at the end of the driveway. When the coast was clear, he made his way to a nearby bar and called in reinforcements. The Don's soldiers fell one by one until only he and one other man remained. They were cornered in an abandoned warehouse, their backs against a wall, and the Don knew that this was the end. Soon enough, he had assembled a small army of loyal soldiers who were ready to fight back. The battle was on. As the gunfire echoed through the night, the Mafia Don and his men fought bravely. But they were outnumbered, and soon they were on the run. But then, just when all hope seemed lost, a miracle happened. But the war was not over yet. The Don's enemies were regrouping and planning their next move, and the Don knew that he needed more help if he was going to win the war. He traveled to a secret hideout, where he met with a group of old friends. They were retired soldiers who had fought in the Don's private army years ago, and they were willing to come back and help him win the war. With their help, the Don set up a series of defenses around his hideout, turning it into a fortress. The day finally came when the Don's enemies descended on his hideout in full force. And then he had a brainwave. He decided to use his enemies' greed against them. He had dug a tunnel under his house and hidden explosives in the walls, left his old life behind, and started a new one in a small town far away from his enemies. Now, my brothers and sisters of the cloth, as we reflect on the parable of the Mafia Don, let us remember that no matter how powerful or influential we may become in our lives, we should always strive to do what is right. So, my brothers and sisters of the cloth, let us be the light in the darkness. You can tell by the title of this book that this story is not for everyone. The story follows a young man named Michael Corleone, who becomes the head of his family's mafia organization after his father, Vito Corleone, is seriously injured. As Michael takes on a bigger role in the mafia, he becomes more ruthless and powerful. But he also becomes more isolated and paranoid. What I really loved about this book is the way that it's written. It's fast-paced and exciting, and the characters are complex and well-developed. If you're a fan of mafia movies like The Godfather, then you'll definitely love this book. So if you're looking for a book that will keep you on the edge of your seat, then I highly recommend The Godfather.